Welcome to the Chain Out podcast with your hosts, Jeremy and Daryl.
No, not this week. You just got me. Jeremy's not here. He has prior arrangements, so you've just got me this week. Hopefully that'll be enough for all of you. I'm enough for any person. Welcome along to episode 45. Matt LeLacheur, Wildman. Everyone in the Edmonton local area will know who Wildman is. Excuse me. I am feeling a little bit under the weather this week, but I still made it to the podcast. That's how dedicated I am. So this week will be a little bit different. Because Jeremy was unavailable this week or today, we actually did a pre-record with Matt yesterday. And we recorded the interview, so we'll be playing that tonight. So you'll still see the interview. It'll still be me and Jeremy, but there won't be any live interactions. I'll still be in the chat, so if you want to drop some questions or just want to talk along with me, chat along, then we're good to go that way. So it's been a busy week. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened a little bit later when we interview Matt. But one thing that I did put out on Instagram, and I don't know if anybody saw it, I know a few people did, is that we have our own cocktail now. It's called the Chain Out Cocktail. I put it into ChatGPT to come up with a cocktail based on the Chain Out podcast. So it created a cocktail. I put it up there. If you want to drink along next week, for those of you that drink, if you don't drink, that's totally fine. Let me know in the chat if anybody is drinking along. It's got lemon in it, so I've got a sore throat and a cough, so that's the way I'm justifying it tonight. Okay, and if you do make yourself a drink, take a photo and tag us in Instagram. You know how it works. So, let's get right down to this week's episode. So we're going to start by talking about what the Canadian pros have been up to in the past week. We're going to go over a recap of the Cold Garden Cup finals. For those that have been playing in Alberta and surrounding areas, you're all getting points into that tournament, so we'll let you know where the standings are with that. Edmonton leagues, they're all wrapping up this week. It'll be the final Rundle League tomorrow. Then we're going to get to the interview with Matt LeLacheur. And then we've been teasing it for weeks. Hey, Briggsy. We've been teasing it for weeks. The 250 subscriber giveaway. We will announce the winner at the end of the episode. So hopefully you stay tuned for that. So, for those of you that are just joining, Jeremy's unavailable this week, so I'm flying solo. So we're also using a new software this week. So you'll see the interview looks a little bit different. Hopefully, let me know what you think of it, whether it's annoying or whether it adds to the experience. We're trying new things. We're trying to elevate the podcast. So if you like it, let us know. If you don't like it, let us know as well, and we'll go back to the old way. So, Canadian pros, what have they been up to this week? We like to give you an update on what they've been doing on the Pro Tour. So, Chantal Bedinsky, she just won the Greater Niagara Falls Classic. And at the moment, she has no more events coming up. Max Regitnik, he hasn't had anything either, not since Canadian Nationals. Thomas Gilbert, he was at the Green Mountain Challenge playoff. He tied for 62nd with Tristan Tanner, Albert Tam, Gavin Rathbun, Zach Arlinghouse, and next up for him is USDGC. Sophia Donica, 37th at the Green Mountain Challenge. She's got nothing on her schedule right now, but after that, the next thing that she'll be doing will be the Aussie Open in Australia, when all Team Canada head down to Australia for the WIFTIF Championships. And then rounding out the pro update, Rebecca Dawn. Next up for her is the Throw Pink, which is what she qualified for by winning the Innova Rip a couple weekends ago. There you go. So, that's all I've got for you for right now. I'm going to jump into the chat. Matt's in the chat as well. So if you got any questions for Matt, definitely get them in the chat because he's in here. Briggsy, Kevin, Dylan, Sonia, and I think Greg's in the chat as well. Perfect. Let's get some questions going. I'll jump in the chat. Going to play the interview for you now. Hopefully you enjoy it. Let me know what you think of the new software.
Well, Daryl, I'm sure that was just the most perfect update on what the pros are doing or what they're not doing. How do you think it went?
Oh, I'm sure I did a perfect job.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out tomorrow or
Daryl,
today.
Daryl the
I'm
future.
confused.
Yeah, Daryl in the future. Good job.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let's keep rolling along and get into the Cold Garden Cup finals.
Yeah.
So, brand new tour this year, put on by Jordan Alway and also Cold Garden Brewing, Limber Disc Golf. So, Taylor Jeffels is involved.
Yep.
At Cold Garden, we've got our buddy Blake Belding. We love that guy. You know why we love that guy?
Go
Because
ahead.
every
Why?
time we see him, he's got beer.
I thought you were going to say because he's just a lovable character. He's always got a smile on his face. He's very welcoming. You can always have a chat with him. But I mean, he's always got beer. That's always a bonus as well.
Yeah, those are always things. I'm sure he hears it all the time. And he's got good beer, right? He's got that cake face. I love that beer. That's a
Yeah.
really good one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good.
Well, that event's been going on all year. I'm trying to remember. I don't know exactly how many events Jordan had in there. That would be something a good podcaster would know. But what I can
But
tell you is, go ahead.
we can direct people to their website or to the disc golf scene so that they can look at the standings and they'll be able to see how many events there's already been.
Yes, that's for sure.
There you
And most of the events all in Alberta this year, with one event coming up in BC, and then there was, of course, Gold Eagle in Saskatchewan.
go. Mm-hmm.
And all of these events are adding up, and there were women's only events that were double points. There were other ones that were a point and a half, but we're getting towards the end, and what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to have is a Cold Garden Cup Championship that's
Yep.
going to happen at Red Tail Ridge. Just checking my notes here, on October 5th and 6th. And that Red Tail Ridge course is in the Calgary area. Do you know anything about that one?
No, I've never heard of it. I know there was mention that Sam Western has been there or visited it, so I know I didn't really know what he said about it. What did he say?
Yeah, yeah, okay, you're right. Because when I was talking with him, he had mentioned he went down there for some other tournament recently, and he said it was a really good course. It's still a little bit in development, like similar to say any of our other courses like Niska, where they don't actually have a tee pad in place or a full
Right.
tee pad. They're kind of in their transition. But
Yep.
he said it looked like he had said it was a really good course. It's going to have some challenges to it. It should give the Cold Garden Cup Championship finale people a chance to really test their skills.
Yeah. That's an interesting concept to any of the tours that we had previously in Alberta or in this area. That this is actually going to culminate in a tour finale. So that'll be exciting.
I think so. And the other thing that's kind of a way that Jordan and the team encouraged people to get to the finale was that they're taking that event specifically and giving it 3 times the points.
Right.
So when I was looking at some of the way the points work,
Mm-hmm.
you get points if you're first, second, or third. Like you get
Yeah.
like 5 points, 3 points, 2 points, something like that, similar to maybe the way our fantasy picks work.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, you get a point for participating automatically. And then you also get, you get your purple ribbon.
Get a participation point. That's good. I like it.
Yeah. If anything of this is wrong, I'm sure someone will tell us in the comments. And then the other thing is that you get points for every person that you were ahead of. So if you were ahead of 4
Okay.
people, then you'll get 4 points for that. But now take all of those points, multiply it by 3. And if you thought you had a lead, you better have a really healthy lead, because
Right.
somebody else could come in and scoop it up and make some ground on you.
Or conversely, if you look at the standings and you're maybe third or fourth or even fifth or sixth, if you're just out of that podium, there's a good chance that if you show up and you do well, you could leapfrog quite a few people, and maybe you could even be looking at getting back on the podium. So
Yeah.
definitely check out Disc Golf Scene. I believe is where all the standings are. Check the
That's
Gold
right.
Garden Cup. Check to see where you're standing, and maybe this might be an event that it's like you said, it's a worthwhile event if you're going to get 3 times the points,
hmm
rather than it just being a pointless tournament that you could go and just get 5 or 6 points or whatever. If you can get 3 times the points and actually push you towards that goal of actually getting a good finish, it's got its merit for having, going to this tournament.
Yeah. And if everybody goes back to our episode where we interviewed Jordan and Blake, you'll see that Jordan showed off the trophy that he had put together, which is a really cool looking keg with a disc basket on the top of it, and we even got to get a right up and personal glimpse of it at Falcon's Flight as well.
We did. Sorry, I was just remembering.
Go back and watch the episode.
Yeah,
and
go
you'll
back
know
and
why
watch
we're
the
giggling.
episode. There's a
Jordan loves it as well. It's a good
Yeah,
moment
exactly.
in the show.
Yeah, no, he had it down at Falcon's Flight, brought it around. I don't know if we joked about it during that episode, but the finale, the winner was going to get it filled up with beer, and you get to take it home. And once it's empty, you bring it back. I mean, I don't know if that's what's actually going to happen, but it's at least if we tell people that, maybe they might actually want to try and win it.
Yeah, certainly. Well,
Another
what I'll
bonus
say-
to try and win it.
Yeah. So definitely go check out the leaderboard. There's some people like I'll shout out Travis Bouchard, Duncan Holness. They're people in the MA40 division. If you guys haven't looked to see where you are, go check it out because you could really have a good chance at it. But I wanted to bring up a few of the different divisions just to let everyone know where people are standing. So if we go with the MPO, we got Noah Higgins right now in the lead with 210 points. Casey Hannemeyer's in second with 170.5 points. We got Coda Postma in third with 143. And all of them are registered and they're going to be playing in this event. And on top of that, there's still one event before the finals, which is the Kootenai Up and Down out in Cranbrook.
Right.
And Casey's going to be there because that's one.
Yeah, and exactly. It's his backyard.
Right in his backyard. Yeah, exactly. And then FPO leaders.
Terry Hong.
And
Terry Hong,
take a look at what she's got there.
Yeah, exactly. 53 points for Terry. Bailey Wilson in second right now with 35 points, and a tie for third between Edmonton's own Kristen Swirls and Jody Rooney with 32 points. But as of yet, Jeremy,
yes,
none of those people are registered for it.
That's right. So Terry doesn't even have to do any defending. She could just walk away with this one unless somebody's going to show up and give her a challenge. That we're calling you out, Kristen, Bailey, Jody, get down there. Jody's in Calgary.
Yeah.
So she could get over there.
Exactly. She's only 21 points behind.
Yeah. So, and with triple the points, it could work out.
Exactly.
I think if you're first and
obviously,
if you were the only one in and you were first and you got 5 points for first, plus you got a point for going there, that's 6 times 3. You're at 18 points.
But if you're the only one there, do you finish ahead of yourself?
Yeah, that part I think
How does
you're
that
not
work?
getting any extra.
I don't know.
There.
You're not going to get any extra for that.
Yeah, and the only other division I wanted to bring up, of course, is the one that's most near and dear to our hearts right now, and that's the MA40 division.
Mm-hmm.
So we got Greg Perrott, who's in first, and he's got a pretty healthy lead.
Yeah.
I know he was at Falcons, a really good player. I haven't had a chance to be on his card. I've got to play a little bit better, I think, before I'll get up there.
Yeah, exactly. Might play with him on day one, but other than that, he's not coming close to playing with us.
Yeah, he's never really that close to the chase card, and that's where I tend to hang out. So,
yeah.
But you know what? Because I've played 5 events,
Mm-hmm.
I am currently sitting in 7th place in MA40.
There you go. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to jump from 7th to 3rd, get on that podium.
It could be, except for I think I'm a little busy that weekend, but sorry, man.
I'm a little bit further down the table, only playing in 4 events, but not that really makes a difference. But I'm sitting in 20th place. So I don't think, maybe if I finish first and there's 20 people in the event, excuse me, I might be able to scrape somewhere back in the top half. But yeah. But it's definitely something to look forward to next year. If it happens again next year, now that we know how the format works and things like that, you can pick and choose. I know Terry definitely
she planned her schedule.
She planned her schedule, around going to these events and scoring as many points as she could. So, yeah.
I think it's good. And when you think about it, I was spending some time because we're getting towards the end of the season. I know there's still a lot of disc golf left this year. We tend to play right in the winter, but kind of the summer tournament season. And to think about some of the events that we did get to play in, we played in Spring Runoff. That was a Cold Garden Cup. Yeah. River City Cup, Wally's 100, Falcon's Flight.
Yeah.
And those were all big, good quality events as I think back on them. I've got good memories from each of those weekends. So,
yeah. But that was the 4 that I did. You obviously did those ones as well, but you also did the Limber Open. So that was your 5th event that you got a buy into the entry because you're a Limber Pinecone. So that was your event that you had to play in.
I was lucky to play in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it was good. And that was, even thinking about that one, that was the one that had the pop-up course. And I think the only tournament with a pop-up course I've played this year, I could be wrong, but that's the one I remember the most. So Yeah.
Cool.
Moving right along, my friend.
Moving right along, as Kermit would say.
Yeah. You didn't do it in a Kermit voice, though. Do you got a good Kermit voice?
Last week, it's the last week of the Rundle League.
All right.
Did
Moving
you
right
see?
along.
Did you see that segue there, Jeremy?
It
Yeah,
was
Rundle
great.
League. We've talked about it in the beginning. We were giving you tag one updates. Kind of got a little bit long-winded there when it was only going back and forth between 3 or 4 people, I think. But it's finally coming to an end. It's 26 weeks, Jeremy.
Yeah.
23
half
weeks?
a year.
Yeah, something like that we were playing, and now we're down to the final final week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And thinking about that, the final week, what Tim and the team has done is they've taken all the baskets and they've moved them. We saw this last week where they're quite close to almost all of them are in the forward positions or the short positions.
Yeah.
And that really is making a chance for people to make moves. I shot my best round of the whole season so far last week.
Ever.
So, yeah, ever too. Of my whole life.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you shot an amazing 2 under last week. You were playing out of your skin. People said that they didn't say it was the course, but they definitely said that it was a good chance for people to knock some scores off with all the baskets being in the short position. How then I go out and shoot a +5, I don't know. But you definitely did great. You shot a -2. You were playing great. You've definitely dialed in some discs, throughout the year. You're now towards the end of the season. You know which discs are doing what for you. And
Well, that's
definitely
good.
Shot well.
The other thing to mention, though, too, right? Because there's the 5 tiers, and we're in tier 4, and we're nowhere near the top. I think Zach Mitchell or somebody's got that one right under wraps. I can't remember exactly who.
Yeah.
But you're even a full stroke almost, I think, ahead of me on our average. I know you don't pay attention to this, but I do. Yeah. So it takes our top 10 rounds, figures out what our average score is for those 10 rounds, and the people with the lowest averages are the ones that are the leaders. And for you and me, you've had a number of better rounds than I have. So your average is about, at least almost a stroke or close to a stroke more. So I'd really have to step it up this week and do another like -3 or something like that, or do my first ever -3 to get it. But
yeah. Did you have fun?
Oh, so much fun.
That's
I
the
loved
important
it.
thing. Positions in the league and which tier you're in, that's all part and parcel of the secondary. But the most important thing was you had fun.
Yeah.
Not every week.
Just like my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
Not every week.
Not every week. But can you remember when we first started and we were shooting +9, +10, +13, sometimes +8s, 9s? Like we were kind of consistently around that +5 to 9, somewhere around there. Yes. But then, just goes to show you that all that. I mean, you call it practice, you call it fun, you're not necessarily doing field work, but it's repetition and, getting to know the holes and things like that. And, coping with the wind and the rain and everything else that we've had to deal with. Now look at your score from the end of the year to the beginning of the year. So if anyone out there didn't go to league this year, Rundle League or Nor'Wester League, there's also the Hills Anytime League, the Doubles League, the Women's League. I believe they had a junior league. I don't know if that carried on or whether it stopped or if it was only for a short time.
Few weeks. Yeah.
But if you were on the fence about, do you or do you not want to do a league? It's a free practice once a week. Get out, meet some new people. Unless you're Jeremy, we have our cards already organized. And just get better.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, let's talk about highlights for me. And obviously we've kind of already hit mine. My highlight was that I got that -2 round. But another thing that I enjoyed, and I wish I got to throw 6 shots instead of 1 because my 1 shot was woefully embarrassing, I think, for myself. And that was that top of the world shot, because that was one of those really cool things that we got to do as part of the Rundle League. Yeah,
I enjoyed the top of the world shot. That was I would say once in a lifetime. It's not once in a lifetime. Once a year or once it's there. You can just walk up the hill and throw the shot. Nothing's stopping you from doing it. But no one thinks about doing it.
Spotters.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I enjoyed was the alternate tee pads.
Yes.
Actually having permission to throw off the tee pad and go off into the, nowhere just to come up these new lines that Tim decides that he wants to put us through. And then the one disc challenge as well. That was kind of fun. Something that we always say that you should do because it makes you improve with that disc, but we never really, like we said before, whenever we get to go out, we only get to go out once or twice a week. Do you want to spend that once or twice that you actually get to play and enjoy a round of disc golf? Do you really want to go out with one disc and just play the whole round with one disc and then come back in feeling like, oh, I wish I had my other disc because I could have thrown these better shots or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of one of those things where it's awesome when we're encouraged to do it, because you probably wouldn't do it on your own too often. And the other thing, I'm going to say one thing that was not a highlight for me was number 5 basket in the raised position. That can go away forever. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, you didn't kind of like that hole. I kind of liked hole 5.
Yes. And why did you like hole 5, my friend? What was it about that one?
Yeah, it may just have been because I got my first ever ace on in Rundle League. I was the first one to get an ace. I think it might have been week 3.
Yeah, it was early.
It was early on. I know I was the first one to get one. But yeah, my trusty Globerg, hole 5 down the hill. I'm not going to say I aimed for it. The wind caught it, pushed it up, and dumped it in the basket, but I'll take it.
Yeah, that's got to be your favorite ace of all time, I'd say.
My favorite ace? You're trying to say that I have more than one, Jeremy?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought I saw a post today.
Yeah, I played Hermitage today, and hole 13, I got myself an ace with my rock.
Oh,
There
look
you
at
go.
that. You got
Look
the
at that.
post.
Even put it up there. Yeah.
Look at that logo on that rock. No wonder
Right.
it went in. There's
Exactly.
no way that would chain out.
Save that for later. Yeah. No, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
I would say that I wasn't aiming for it, but I kind of half was. I knew I wanted a kind of a bit of a turnover. The leaves are starting to fall, but the way the basket is, it's in the short position at Hermitage. Wanted a little bit of a flex line backhand. And it was one of those moments where I'm like, is it going to... Oh, it went in. And then quickly turn around. And obviously I was playing on my own and there was no one around to witness it. But I texted you right away to let you know that it went in.
I like to say, too, that I did kind of witness it, because I think as you were getting ready to start that round, I said, you know what? Do me a favor. Send me the link on UDisc. I can kind of put it on my phone to the side and it'll give me a little excitement. I can live vicariously through you. And what a day to do it. So I did kind of witness it from afar.
Witnessing on UDisc, does that count?
Yeah. So if I sign it really small, like I was far away, does that count?
There you go.
Nice. Well, that was and you did, like you said, you finished Hills, you played in that league. I don't know if that league's going to be around next year. We'll see what happens with it, but maybe that Ski Hill league will be available, Sunridge, that they were talking about.
I hope that gets open soon. Yeah.
So I did have one other thing. I had breaking news that we should add, and then I think we should get to our guest. But breaking news, did you see the other post that went up today by one Tim Plamondon?
I did. We kind of had already alluded to it, in conversations that maybe that was going to happen. And so for those that don't know or don't follow Edgar, well, why are you not following Edgar or even Tim? I think it might have been on his own private channel. Or in his own personal channel, sorry. But Tim Plamondon, president of Edgar, after 4 years being a member of the board, has decided that he is not running next year. He wants to take some time to actually go and play disc golf, as opposed to running all the tournaments and TD'ing and everything else that he has to do, which is a job well deserved. Yeah. A rest well deserved, yeah.
I'm a little nervous there, Daryl. Is because he just got like his 30th ace, I think it was, and it wasn't actually with a Firebird. And that's with him. Yeah, it wasn't with a Firebird. It was, I don't even remember what he
throws
said.
Something else other than a Firebird?
Maybe he forgot his discs and had to borrow one or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But he hit his 30th, and that's with him doing all these other duties and working and doing president, running tournaments and stuff. If he's got time to just play rounds, I'm a little nervous of what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I played with Kristen the other day, and she said that every basket he's running the ace on most baskets. So, yeah, expect that number to go up a little bit.
That's it. But we should say, Tim, you've welcomed us and our podcast into the Edmonton disc golf community, and we appreciate everything you've done there. You've helped us out with our fantasy picks. You've run a great league, great tournaments, and we appreciate everything you've done for Edgar. And we know you're not going anywhere. but
Yeah.
we're thankful, and we just wanted to make sure you knew that as well.
Absolutely. Congratulations. Earn your time. Enjoy your time off.
Yeah. Why don't we get to a guest, Daryl? What do you think?
That's what we're here for.
All right. This week's guest is a local from Edmonton, Alberta. A PDGA member since 2021, he's been involved in all facets of disc golf, from playing to vending to tournament directing events and working to establish, hopefully, the next 18-hole disc golf course in the Edmonton area. We're excited to talk about all of these things and more. Join us in welcoming the Wildman, Matt LeLacheur, to the show. Hey
guys.
look at that.
Hey, Matt. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Yeah, we're excited. This has been one of those things that's been a long time in the making. Right from the start of Chain Out, we've said, we got to get Matt on. He's a personality and doing so much in our local community, and it just finally worked out that we were able to get you on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we delayed a little bit, just kind of waiting for things to kind of shape up over this past year. Things have been interesting. But
right,
no,
well,
I enjoyed the preamble there, and I swear this wasn't scripted, but you guys were talking about Cold Garden, and this guy right here.
Look at that.
That is exactly what I'm drinking.
It's
you
one of
had
the
a
best
cake
beers.
face on hand. Yeah.
It's pretty great. Yeah. And actually, I bought it. I'd never had it before, and then I recognized the Cold Garden logo at the liquor store. I'm like, hey, I
Right.
better try this. Got to support.
Yeah.
Well, and that's it. That one there too. It's like, it does have a little bit of sweetness to it, but it's not. Don't worry, you're not having a whole can of icing or something like that. You're actually having a beer. It's just a beer that tastes nice and sweet.
Yep, exactly.
Yes.
Not one I need more than one of, so that's perfect.
There
I
you
just
go.
want to say something to start with, Jeremy. I mean, maybe it is a thing that we do, but every time we get a guest on, if you notice a trend, everybody has discs hanging on the wall behind them. Are they any special discs that you've got hanging up there, Matt?
Nothing super special, but I mostly put them on the wall because like this is my office, so I never have to look at that wall. So I never it was just blank forever. And then I went on a different podcast a few months back. I'm like, I guess I should have something on the wall. It's like, okay, well, a couple finishing nails and throw some discs on there.
There you go.
So the only kind of interesting one, I guess, would be there's Terry Hong's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The white one.
Terry Hong's the white one here.
Hammer.
Yeah, there we go. Looking in the green screen. And then we got just some random one. I think it's MVP Open 2022. I think it's a Hex or a Crave.
Okay.
And this one here is kind of an interesting piece of history. It's called the Wheel. It is the only disc. It's from Quest AT. So same guys that do the turbo putter. You guys are familiar with that one? That serrated edge kind of swirly thing you throw, kind of turbo style.
Yeah.
So it's Quest AT made this thing. It's the only disc that was ever PDGA approved and then had its approval revoked.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what was the reason? Do you know?
Always grab. I know. I do know.
It looks like it's
That's the other side.
upside down.
Well,
Or
because it has basically a rim on both sides.
Right.
So rim and rim. So it's called the wheel, the stroke saver. There we go.
Gotcha.
The wheel.
There you go.
Stroke saver. So it's intended to be basically a roller. So you hit the ground and it just kind of rolls for days. You can't throw it super hard or else it kind of turns over. But if you throw it soft, doesn't matter which way it hits. It kind of rolls until it falls over. So
it
now
was a cheat code.
It was a bit of a cheat code. Not a great cheat code, but a cheat code nonetheless. So now if you look on the PDGA sanctioning for discs, like the approval, it now says something along the lines of a disc now has to have a distinct top and bottom, as opposed to you can have a rim on both sides.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
there you
Wow.
So that's size. I figure I'll put that one on the wall and I can just swap them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, the other thing, Matt, when you were pointing at the discs behind you, we had Ryan Norquay on he's the TD up at the Larger Than Life tournament up in Whitehorse. And when he was on the show, one of the things he did was he had a wall of discs behind him and we asked about one or two. And Daryl and I were amazed because he was just like, boom, this one. And he was doing it so perfectly. And you showed that you're just like us. He does have a talent to do that, I'm sure. So... Well, you know what? We want to get into it. And on our shows, one of the things we like to do is get your origin story. And we're not just going to ask you, how did you get into disc golf? I have to come up with something cool and creative. Well, I say cool, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So
Let the chat decide.
yeah, we'll let them decide. But I've tied it to a movie. We'll see what happens. And it gives you a little time to think. And I haven't done one in a while. So all these preambles, hey, and these preempts. But here we go. Maybe you started disc golfing when you met one tough dog who taught you a number of valuable skills. You started playing tournaments and were almost like a hitman, the way you would nail aces with your trusty yellow Lazotl hex. After competing in tournaments, you stepped back a little and decided to design your own disc golf course. As you proceeded, it felt like there was a gang of people trying to stop or maybe even kidnap the course. But when anyone asks, you tell them you have a very particular set of skills you've acquired over a long career in disc golf, and those skills will ensure that your course is approved. Maybe that's not quite how you got into disc golf, but why don't you tell us how it really happened?
That would make for a pretty great movie, actually.
I'd watch it.
Yeah,
I would
I'd hate
definitely
for
watch
something
that.
to get taken from you, so.
I know, right? It'd be terrible. Yeah, so origin stories. So I actually grew up just up the hill from Rundle Park. So for those outside of Edmonton, that's kind of like the major course in Edmonton. It might be the first one in Alberta. I'm not 100% sure on that. So it lived up the hill from the course. And of course, as things go, I didn't know disc golf was even a thing back when I was living over there with the parents. But I got back into it probably about 2013. Played a couple times, bought a disc from the ACT Center down there and just kind of, fumbled around with it. Never really even remember seeing anybody else on the course. And got bigger into it probably about 2017, 2018. Me and my buddy Duncan just go down and just, throw whatever disc and, just had a good time. Didn't matter. We weren't really keeping score. Didn't have U-disc. Just went down there and ripped some discs. And then COVID hit. It's like, well, nothing else to do but play 4 or 5 rounds a day. So we got deep down the rabbit hole of, okay, ordering a bunch of discs and trying to get better. And then you started seeing a bunch of people out on the course, which, before that, like there were people out there, but it wasn't, it was a different world for the pre-COVID compared to kind of COVID era and beyond.
Right.
So that was basically it. Just kind of, got deep into it. And yeah.
No, that's awesome. And, I think that's a story that we've heard. And, I feel like I was a late COVID disc golfer myself because it was, the St. Albert course starting out with orange buckets in the trees during COVID and going, what the heck are those things? And then later on seeing the actual baskets and pulling out the Canadian Tire style dollar store Frisbees and doing it. But it was, it was one of those things where, it really turns it into it. And luckily you got to do it all at Rundle, like that original course in the Edmonton area. That thing, from what I understood when we talked to Chad and stuff, it's been around since the 80s. So
yeah, I think like mid 80s it was put in, early 80s maybe.
Yeah. And then up until that last, didn't Chad say that last basket, or Wally say, Daryl, that it was stolen?
It was Wally. Yeah, it was over by the trail house. It was one of the original baskets that was there, and then he showed up one day and it was gone.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to just have that still left there, just, not for people to practice on, but just to see kind of like an evolution of baskets, right? Yeah. I mean, we've all probably played down at Wetaskiwin, and we know what their baskets are like down there. That's kind of a bit of a nod to the original course back in Alberta. I think that was the first course in Alberta where those baskets were handmade, I believe, over there. So yeah, it would have been nice to keep the basket at Rundle there, just to kind of give a nod to the past, but wasn't meant to be.
No. Well, we're talking about origin stories in that, Matt, but I have another question about origins. And what's the origin of the Wildman name? Where did that come from?
So essentially it's kind of German mythology. So whereas in North America, kind of, modern day, we have Bigfoot, which is essentially kind of this big hairy beast that, is the secretive guy but more of a beast that goes through the forest and is kind of very mysterious. So the German folklore that kind of Bigfoot kind of evolved into Bigfoot. Wildman was essentially kind of a giant human that was kind of at one with nature in the forest, kind of this semi-mythological creature, but kind of also a protector of the forest and kind of the not really a saint, but like a creature that would protect those who were in the forest or were in need, things like that.
Right.
So kind of in tune with nature and all that type of stuff. But it's actually
And
turned out to be even a better name than I thought, just because of the mythology of Wildman. It's kind of like this misunderstood giant that's in the forest where, the villagers are scared of this guy, but he's actually kind of
Yeah.
there to help you and prevent the forest from eating you and, the dangers of the other creatures and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
a little bit prophetic in that way.
and
How
did
long
you
have-
find
Sorry.
I would say, did you find that you started to connect more and more to Wildman as the beard grew out and you're almost
well-
resembling in some cases?
That is a little bit by design, yes. So I was rocking the goatee for a long time, and then a bit before COVID hit, I started growing it out a bit. And then when COVID hit, it's like, all right, throw away the razors, boys. Like, we don't need this anymore. We'll see what happens. And it hasn't gotten any longer, so I don't know, Daryl. I don't think I'm ever going to catch you. It's kind of capped out at length.
Oh, I don't know. I think we're pretty close, but
It's pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, I did hear that. I heard that there's like a terminal length that your hair will get. It'll get to a certain length and then it will stop. It won't grow any longer. Like I've been trying to grow it out. I get it trimmed just to tidy up the sides and keep it kind of looking at some sort of shape. But yeah, it hasn't gotten any longer than this, and I don't think it'll ever get any longer than this. That's what I've heard of anyway. So that's probably why the same reason why your arm hair doesn't grow as long as your body hair sort of thing, so, or your head hair. That's just what I heard. So how long have you had the name Wildman? Like, it was ever since you got into disc golf, or did it predate that?
No, disc golf happened first, and then so I met Briggsy on the course, and for a while my nickname was Slingshot, because we'd keep getting discs stuck in the trees to the point where I went and bought a slingshot so I could shoot my discs out of trees. They were getting stuck so high up there. So for a very brief period, I was Slingshot, and then as I kind of settled into, we'll get to this later, but looking for land and eventually buying a piece of land, it's like, well, it needs a name. It needs like a really cool name. And then I kind of was kicking around a few ideas and settled on kind of Wildman as the one, and then just kind of made that the persona and kind of grew into it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, you know what I'm going to say, guys, is the riveting part about all this beard talk is we've got a listener there. I think it's Ian, is it not, from Burgoyne? And Daryl's used his product, so it's almost an advertisement there. Well, you'll have to hook Matt up with some of those too.
Yeah, Ian, if you're listening, Ian Penhaligon.
Yeah.
Send some more supplies up. I know he's got them in and around the Kamloops area, I believe it is. So
Calgary too.
Calgary, yeah. Get them some North Alberta.
Yeah,
all right.
No doubt. You could do a whole segment on beard care. There's a significant
podcast.
number of bearded gentlemen in disc golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Maybe we'll do a beard episode, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's right. If I can't make it one time, it could be all beards all the time, because I'm not going to have anything to show.
There you go.
Well, you know what? Let's keep this train moving along. And Matt, many listeners might know a little bit of what you've got going on, that you play disc golf or, a piece here or there. But I figured they're going to be surprised by the end of this podcast of all the different things that you're involved in. And we wanted to start with maybe even almost a little bit of an advertisement of sorts, but to talk a little bit about Wildman Disc Golf and the fact that you have an online store, you've got a community presence with selling discs. Tell us a little bit about when did that start and how did you get that going?
So that was, I'm a firm believer in, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. That's kind of words to live by. Essentially, it's not worth going, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's like, no, if it's worth doing, you overdo it, and without a doubt, it's the only way. You're all in on whatever you do. That's my philosophy for life, essentially. So, okay, it's playing disc golf, great. Okay, well, wanted to buy a piece of land, but didn't really have, before disc golf anyways, didn't really have a reason to have land, just to just to go camp on. It's like, I could just go get a campsite. But with kind of disc golf, said, hey, I could buy a chunk of land and I could make my own custom thing, just use the property and the rest of that. And like, well, if I'm going to do that, well, I may as well get into buying and selling discs, because maybe one day I'll have a little shack out there and sell discs and all the rest of that. So where we're at currently is I've got Wildman Disc Golf Incorporated, which is the online disc store. We do all sorts of events. We sponsor Gavin Beamish. Yeah, there's a store right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, still relatively new, but yeah, needs a little bit of work. But there's plenty of inventory on there. But we're making it better and better as we go along here.
Well,
And
you know what?
yeah, so so a big thing is you can do online purchases, and then typically at least once a week, I'm at a league night somewhere or an event somewhere or both, where you can just order your discs, not have to pay shipping, come pick them up for free. So this week I'm at Rundle League Night again for the last Rundle League, and then obviously at the Wildman Fall Classic in Drayton Valley this weekend. You can also pick your discs up there, because it's unfortunately
Right.
shipping is very expensive for a single disc. It cost is about just about $5 to ship in a bubble mailer, and
Yeah.
if it's more than one disc thick or even a putter, it costs between $15 and $20 to mail that. So it's
Wow.
on top of a $25 disc. Buy an order for $50, paying $15 in shipping doesn't make a lot of sense. So
Right.
it's if you have the option, it just becomes super worthwhile just to order and come pick it up
Oh
for
yeah.
free.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I look at it as my time is basically free, but it's within reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully, it benefits you going to the going to these league nights as well. Um, you might be bringing some inventory out to these people that have already bought it, but hopefully, while you're there, you're selling a couple as well. So
Yeah,
speaking of
absolutely.
inventory, you obviously must you had your inventory to start with when you set up the Wildman Disc Golf store. And as many people know, in the Edmonton area, we used to have Gander Disc Golf, the brick and mortar store. Unfortunately, they're not around anymore, but I know a sizable portion of that inventory was handed over, not necessarily handed over to you, but purchased by you. So, whether you know the exact number, what do you reckon your rough inventory count is now? How many discs do you think you have? Because I think when Jeremy looked on the on your website, I think it shows like it's 395 listed on your website.
Yeah.
Uh,
395 in stock items, but
Yeah.
knowing that some of those, if they're discs, they're going to have different weights and different colors and a number of different ones. So there's at least 395 individual items that he's got. But how many would you say?
Probably if I had to take a stab at it, so on the website of those 400-ish products, counting all the variations, we're probably at 12 to 1300 would be my guess. And then
Wow.
I've got
Okay.
kind of more stuff in reserve, more stuff. I just keep ordering stuff and just keep adding to the website. Typically, I'll order things, give whichever league night I'm at, kind of give them first shot at before I even have to take pictures and take the time and effort to list stuff. Just bring it to league night first, have first dibs on it, and then after that, it'll make the website within a week or so. But
Okay.
overall, I've probably got, I'd say, 4,000 to 5,000 discs. Quite a few of
Wow.
those would be
Wow.
like starter packs and things. So if you count those as three, yeah,
Hmm.
probably 4,000 to 5,000.
Yeah, that's quite the inventory. And that's something that I don't know that a lot of people might know, because when you go out to a smaller event like a Thursday night league night, you'll bring some of your inventory and people might think, oh, okay, yeah, that's what Wildman's got. But when you got like 5,000 discs, you just can't carry that around to every single event. You'd spend all night setting it up and taking it down.
You sure would. Even with, I know like JK Discs runs around and they've got like their little kind of trailer and stuff behind that they tow behind the minivan, and like they're probably bringing a couple thousand discs, I'd say.
Hmm.
Me and my car currently at some point we'll upgrade, but in the car, like I probably pack about 500 to league nights and things, and so I kind of rotate that in and out, kind of so people kind of see different things and not just kind of see the same stuff week after week. And then after a while, it's like, Kate, just if you
Yeah.
know I have it and it's on the website, you should probably order it on the website and I'll just come bring it to you. Because the chances that of those 500 discs out of the thousands I have, the chance that I bring it to league night is quite small.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's the
and
thing with discs. It's, people want specific colors, specific weights, specific plastics. So, okay, if someone says, I want a Latitude 64 diamond. Okay, well, I carry those in probably 4 different plastics, probably each of those, between 2 and 4 colors. And there's some weight variation. So, I mean, of just diamonds, I probably have, 20 or 30 available.
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess diamonds are a wild man's best friend as well, then, is what we could say.
It is a
And there,
great starter disc. Latitude 64 does a great job with their starter line, where they've got kind of the easy to throw stuff, and that's kind of the first one where it's like, hey, I need an understable kind of fairway driver,
yeah.
and so it's a little bit lighter weight, and they fly pretty great, and to the point where once you start throwing harder, they turn over a bit too much. They've started now making what they call the full character, the heavy diamond. So instead of a
Okay.
diamond in 155 to 160 grams, they now make them in 170 grams.
Right.
So
Ah,
quite a bit more throwable, even if you can throw quite hard
Yeah.
in
I
those
think
weights.
I think it was Colleen McInnes that we were talking to, that she said that she's bagged a diamond for quite a while. I think she's got 2 or 3 in her bag that she still throws to this day.
yeah. And that's one of
Yeah.
our top FPO Canadian pros carrying one still in her bag, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, Matt, another question I would have is, because you have all of these number of discs in your inventory, people might not know about a few of the gems. So if I was to task you to say, what's one of those unique discs that you have available for sale that maybe people are unaware of, and listening tonight, that's something that they might want to check out on the website or contact you about?
Um, I
Not the
just threw
whale.
one for yeah. No, yeah,
Yeah,
not the
not the
wheel.
wheel.
That one's not for sale. Those are actually pretty hard to track down. It's like I've got a bunch of turbo putters and some other weird stuff. Like I haven't been around long enough to really have collected a bunch of the weird stuff. So now it's
Yeah.
kind of secondary market. I just pick up neat things. I'm a collector at heart. So kind of the segue from my normal day job, we'll call it, self-employed, but buying and selling collectibles and other things. Really did kind of was a pretty easy segue into selling discs, because it is very much kind of that collector mentality.
Right.
But as far as a gems on the website, I really do like the Clash new plastic, their steady halo ring stuff. I
Yeah.
should have
Okay.
grabbed one here, but I don't have one handy. But
Well,
great feeling plastic. Like it's so soft, it just comes out super smooth. And I'd never thrown one, so went for a round yesterday with my buddy Boovy, and he's like, "Oh man, you got to try these. Like, you sold these to me, and they're like buttery smooth." I'm like, "Oh, how good can they be?" And I take this thing. It was their berry, which is kind of like their buzz. It's a
Yeah.
5.5 minus 1.1, just like super soft in the hand. It's like, okay, I just threw it, just 70% flat, not trying too hard, and it just glid, basically just straight, tiny turn, tiny fade. Like, okay, I need one of those in the bag now. So
Yeah.
all
I would
right.
highly recommend any of the Clash stuff, especially in that Halo steady ring. It's the amazing feeling plastic.
Nice.
Right.
Well, and we had Scott Stokely on the show at one point. One of the big things that he tried to hammer home on the website, on the podcast, and we'd heard him say it on other podcasts as well, almost every chance he can, is to support local, because of how many things, and we're going to keep going into the next things, of what your local disc golf stores and online sellers and that, what they do for the community. So first of all, thanks for doing all that, and let's just roll it along. So the other
Hmm.
thing is that you've got a lot of community involvement, and you kind of mentioned it a bit. So you're not just a store, you're also an association of like-minded disc golfers giving back to the community. Tell us about the Wildman Outdoor Society and what that's all about.
Yep. So that had been kind of kicking around in the brain too. So again, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. It's kind of all in on stuff to be a recurring theme, not just
Yeah.
in disc golf, but just in life.
Do I hear a secret
So
word?
yeah, just about. No, it's not a secret society, but it's out there, and there'll be some more social media stuff in the near future. So it's still, we'll get more into it later, kind of the origin story on that. But it'll all kind of make sense when we kind of tie in at near the end of the podcast here.
Gotcha.
But so basically, the Wildman Outdoor Society, we started back in the spring, essentially as a way to provide affordable outdoor activities for Albertans. So we kept it fairly broad. So it's similar to an agriculture society, but I'd say more based on outdoor things like sports and other activities. So
Okay.
that's kind of the overarching idea for the Wildman Outdoor Society. So disc golf, obviously a big part of that, but we could, easily, turn that into things like, snowshoeing, cross country skiing,
Right.
just other outdoor activities, potentially even some indoor activities. I'm a pretty big board game geek as well, so there could be some opportunities for some indoor things. But
Well, and that's
yeah,
one of
so
those
we're
things that I think Matt, about me. We've talked about it before, but this whole wall behind me that's covered and has discs
mhm.
behind all of that is just board game after board game after board game. So I'm
Yep,
with you on that
exactly.
part.
Yeah, no,
But
in some ways, I can't wait for disc golf, the typical season to be over and get into winter and play some more board games. It's been a long time.
yeah, for sure. And it's still waiting on it, but I have a disc golf board game Kickstarter coming my way. And I think we're down to the last couple months. So once that one gets in, maybe we'll all get together. That could. Do you think that we did talk about that, Daryl? Hey, that could be an episode.
We talked about it, yeah, back in the day when you said that you did the Kickstarter, and that it was a thing and it was happening. That maybe that was a thing that we could do, like a live or a group session, playing the game, see how it plays, and do something along those lines. So yeah, we can have a look at that one maybe once you actually get the game in your hands.
Yeah, well, we got someone to join us now, Matt. You're in.
Yep, definitely count me in on that. So I'll just segue back into Outdoor Society stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we got, my brain is all about just segues and things, and it'll tie in at the end. So basically, yesterday, my buddy Boovie and I, both members of the Wildman Outdoor Society, we met with the kids from LeLacheur School, and we went to Hermitage Park, and we played a few holes from the Reds, and the kids had a great time, and just kind of teaching them disc golf and the lifestyle and all the rest of that. And it was great. We have another group we're going to meet with tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
So
cool.
And I've seen some posts up online there too. Sorry about that, Daryl. I've seen some posts up online where you, Briggsy was out with you guys as well, because you got a number of different people who are really supporting Wildman and being part of that community and going out.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be a fairly regular things that you guys will do throughout the year, is kind of connecting with kids and helping teach them disc golf and bring that to that next generation, which is an awesome thing. And it's we need a lot more of that. That's for sure.
Oh, 100%. It's a great, I'm speaking, preaching to the choir here, but it's a great lifetime sport where you pick up this skill and it's like, okay, you can just go play disc golf whenever. I know for myself as a self-employed person, it's great to just be able to go out, and I have a free hour. I can just go play around, and if the weather turns bad, I can just quit. If I can start on whatever hole. If I get an important phone call or whatever and have to leave, I can just leave. There's no $60 green fee that I'm leaving behind, or leaving a foursome behind. It's just kind of understood. It's just, hey, you kind of come and go as you please. You roll through Rundle, you make a super group, and then people splinter off, and just things happen. But getting the kids involved is great. Just getting kind of discs in their hands. And I'd one of the gals in my group yesterday said, "Oh, it's like regular golf but better." I'm like, I'd agree with that.
Yep.
I did not coach that. Just showing enthusiasm and having a better time with it. So for sure.
Yeah.
But we've done a few groups, especially from LeLacheur School, kind of a special place in my heart. We'll say that. So to kind of keep teasing stuff with the property, that back a couple of years ago, they came out on the school bus and they had a great time. We went and we walked the hills, and I had some rental discs for them, and they had a great time. As one of the kids said to me later on when we were playing at a different public course in St. Albert, he's like, "Well, I liked your place better because I saw a dead squirrel and a moose." There's a moose out in the swamp, like hundreds of yards away, but we could see them. We could see the horns or the
paddles. That's
the paddles.
Awesome.
So, but unfortunately, that was a bit at cart before the horse thing. So long story short, we now have to meet that until things are resolved on the property side of things that we'll get into in a little bit here. We're 2 sections too early. So again, we're tying stuff in early.
We got lots of questions, Matt. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you
long
mentioned...
story short, we have to meet them at public courses now until we get some things resolved. But I got confidence in that.
Yeah. You mentioned his name there, Boovie, and obviously Disc Dog Briggsy's out there as well. How many members do you have in the group right now?
Kind of official members, I think we're at like 8 or 9.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good start. That's a good, healthy group of people to kind of start an organization. And then plus you've got so many supporters like these guys over here too.
It all adds up, yeah.
No, at some point we're going to do some special stuff for kind of the Outdoor Society, which is kind of separate from the Wildman disc golf side of things, as it is a registered nonprofit. So it's got kind of a different aim, but still there will be some tie-ins there. And even the event that we're running this weekend will be done through the Wildman Outdoor Society.
Oh, cool. Well, we'll get to that event right away. But one of the other things I was thinking was that, not only are you guys volunteering with kids and teaching them disc golf, another thing that you started to do, and you kind of alluded to it, was that you've sponsored one of your first players as well. So we all know who this is, but tell anybody listening who doesn't know who you guys have sponsored and all about this amazing kid.
So our 16-year-old phenom from Spruce Grove, Gavin Beamish, who's an absolutely just amazing player, and it's not so much that he plays well. He's passionate about the sport. He also enjoys teaching other people about the sport and just having fun with it. Like you'll see him out on the course and let's see if I throw a thumber over these trees, what will happen? Or if I throw this on a grenade, what will happen? And it's almost like a playfulness. He's serious about it, but he's kind of playful at the same time, which is a great combination just to not just become kind of this robot of I have to compete, and if I don't make this putt, I'm going to lose the tournament. He doesn't have that mentality. He's still a competitor, but he has fun with it, which is super important.
Well, he definitely does. And he also puts out a lot of really good content as well. If you follow Gavin Beamish on Instagram, there you go, right, Daryl? And he's got lots of videos. And what do we see up in the top corner there?
Lots of podium finishes.
Yeah.
And first place,
maybe one really big one.
And one really big one, right here. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah,
the Canadian Junior National MJ18 champion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so like you said, on his Instagram, he's got all the podiums and that, and all the trophies that he's taken down and things like that. But then he's always posting, like you say, good content. He's always out there at his local course. And then this is just one of the ones that he posted recently, just a nice skip ace with a 13-speed 200-foot hole. He can't quite believe it. No one's around to watch it. So I know you're feeling there, Gavin.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome. Do you guys have
Daryl will have to get you a tripod, and then you can carry that around and film all your shots and capture that on camera.
I think that's what it is, right? Just record everything. Eventually, one of these times, it's going to be a good shot.
Yeah, of course. Or you get some bloopers, which Gavin does love posting his bloopers too. I think that's even more entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, and do you guys have plans then to look at sponsoring other players down the road? Is that something that you want to continue to incorporate in part of your plan as it can be available?
Not a huge amount of players. It's like I'm very selective on that front. I don't just want to have just a full stable of players. I want to kind of keep it small so that the players I do sponsor, I can kind of give it my all for them.
Come on, Matt. If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
True.
20 players. No, I'm just kidding.
20 players, 15.
Yeah.
No, exactly. It's there's certain things in life where there has to be a balance, right? As much as you'd like to, we'd all like to win the lottery and sponsor all these young junior players and be the reason why they're going to nationals and going down and developing into these pro players down on the pro tour. But yeah, there has to be a bit of a balance, for something's got to give as well as you can take from other things as well, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. But no, always looking for, people that are passionate about the sport and not just the competition side of things, which is important too, but just having fun with it and, being willing to teach others about the sport and kind of spread the, as my dad says, kind of proselytizing disc golf and just kind of saying, hey, this is a good thing. You should try it too.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's pretty much, that was the reason why we started the podcast, right? We like disc golf. We like talking about disc golf. Maybe if we talk about disc golf on a podcast, other people will like watching us and they'll like disc golf and they'll get into disc golf. That's
100%. And it's one of those things that just, when you exude passion like you guys do and kind of, me and my crew do, that it's contagious in a good way. It's, whether it's, teaching kids how to disc golf or, going to tournaments and meeting other people and saying, okay, well, what are some other good courses to play or good events to play? And it all builds on each other. It really does.
Yeah. Well, and if we keep continuing on, Matt, not only are you helping out with all of these things, you're also sponsoring leagues, you're helping with events that way, you're helping with tournaments, and then why don't we roll right into the Wildman Fall Classic, which is in its fourth iteration this year, right? It's fourth annual.
Yep. Fourth annual this year. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so no, we sponsor the Rundle Thursday League. It's kind of our big things. We do the wild putt of the week, so essentially the long putt of the week for a $25 gift card. So yeah, we've had lots of fun winners on that one, and actually surprisingly few repeat winners. I think there's only maybe one repeat winner across all 25-ish weeks, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah,
it is a good sized league though. You think there's some people have monopolized that, but not really. If you're playing for score, it's okay if you park the hole and you have a 10-foot putt, you're never going to make the long putt, right? So it's kind of the great equalizer in prizes. Yeah, your crappy drive, well, I got a chance to win the gift card if I sink this. And that's my kind of disc golf, is just run everything. So it's like, doubles is fun and, just even an event of, if you're, pulling up the rear, not doing great, kind of, bottom 60%, it's okay. At least have a chance to get, some CTPs or some long putts in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I think the only problem that Daryl and I have, because neither of us have won that Wildman long putt yet, but what it is we'll get a roll away and be quite far from the basket, but it never seems to be on the right hole, does it, Daryl?
Yeah.
Exactly. We'll hit those long putts, never in the right place. And
Yeah.
the holes with the long putts were always parked under the basket, right, Jeremy?
Oh, it's exactly
Yeah,
how it is. Yeah,
we're
come
always
out on Thursday and
Yeah.
we'll show you. So yeah, going back to
Yeah.
Wildman Classic, that's coming up right away this weekend.
It is,
And
this weekend.
mhm.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
and keep telling us
registration
more.
will close. Yep. When registration will close Wednesday at midnight.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be on there. Yeah, I changed it recently. Yeah, just saying. Okay, we'll give just a little more. So our goal is 50 players. So we're at 47. So if we can get to 50, that would be amazing. And more than that, even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're
So
doing
at
it at Drayton Valley this year. Yeah, it's honestly, other than my own course, of course, it's my favorite course. Kind of hands down in say northern half Alberta. Sundry's also an excellent course, but I'd probably prefer Drayton Valley as its own 18. Like when you
Okay.
go to Aspen Meadows, it's hard to tease out the West 18 and the East 18. Both very good courses, but individually, I think I would prefer to have the Drayton Valley 18-hole course, the Nordic Center there.
Nice. No, that's good. And what I would say too about look at that, Daryl. You know when I catch myself just talking and talking away about things?
Exactly. You're thinking, I want to ask another question. Hang on. Where am I going with this?
Yeah, no, but having it down at Drayton Valley, one of those things about the courses and the tournaments that you do that I really like, and we want to talk about all the things that are happening at that tournament, is that usually when you do a tournament and you're part of it, sometimes in other tournaments, you're going to get discs and they're going to be given to you, and then you're at the mercy of whatever the organizing committee picked out. But a lot of times when you're at an event, sometimes there is a gift card involved, and then you've got a selection there, and then you get to pick your own discs. And I know I've done that at Hidden Gem when you've been involved in that. Is that something that's happening at this event too? Is that how you're doing it, or what's the setup?
Yep. Yeah, we'll do same setup for that. Like that's kind of my typical. If I'm coming and bringing kind of inventory and stock, that you get kind of a voucher, good for it'll probably be $25. We'll work out the numbers kind of once registration closes. But yeah, because some people don't necessarily want more discs, or it's they might buy discs of a say a brand I don't carry or whatnot. So it's like, hey, they might buy a T-shirt. They might put it towards like a disc retriever or some other bigger budget thing. We're just getting just kind of a random disc. I think for a lot of people at this point isn't super beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different when you have like a tournament branded disc, like say you go to the Nationals or you go to an 8-tier tournament and you get like a Falcons flight at Aspen Meadows. You get kind of that beautiful kind of scenery on the disc where it's got kind of all the different wildlife in the forest and stuff. A really cool stamp. So like for an event like that, it makes sense to have a choice of disc, but of this special stamp. But for I think most B and C tiers, it's like just give people the option to kind of spend it on what they want.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, I'm 100% agreeing with you there. A lot of the players packs and things that we get, you might, like you said, you might get a nice disc in it. Sometimes you'll get two, and there's another disc in there that you'll never throw. And you think, well, that's just pointless for me. That's going to be a disc swap disc. And then you'll get something else in there that you might not use as well. You'll get another mini. We've all got,
Yeah.
so many minis now that we can just pretty much use them as coasters at this point. But yeah,
You
getting
guys
a
don't
gift
lose
card.
your minis every tournament like I do. I somehow managed to walk away from a mini almost every tournament I play in one of the 3 rounds.
I don't think I've
Oh,
ever
there
lost
you
a
go.
mini.
I
No.
definitely have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I've left them in my pocket and stuff, so they might have ended up going through the washing machine, but I don't
Right.
think I've ever
Yeah.
lost one.
Or I've left
Yeah.
them in the wrong bag because it's typically I'm wearing just like a kind of a little backpack bag for most rounds, and then for tournaments I often bust out the Zuka cart. So there's times where I don't have a mini in the Zuka cart or in the other bag. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's most tournaments I sell a decent number of minis just to people that need them or have lost them or otherwise just need one.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to the event this weekend, what can people expect? We know that is there going to be a glow round on the Friday?
There is, yes. We'll do kind of like check-in and prize pack pickup kind of 5 to 7 p.m. And then we're going to do just a nice fun glow round of just the 9 holes on the Action 9. It's just like kind of a quick thing. So it'll probably take us about an hour and a half. So we're looking at probably about 8 p.m. to 9:30 for that one. And we'll add some prizes like some CTPs and long putts and things like that. And that one, I think we're going to make open just to anybody who's there. Like whether you're in the tournament or not, if you're there, helping with the event, or you're supporting the event, or you're a family member of somebody in the event, yeah, come on in and play. It's like I'm big on inclusivity, especially for events and tournaments. So just
Nice.
grab a glow disc and have at her. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we'll
then
probably just play. We'll probably just play it from the Reds and make it nice and easy and kind of all inclusive.
Right. And then going on to the Saturday, so you're going to have the 2 rounds of disc golf on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Are we going to have some activities on the Saturday as well?
That is the plan. Yeah, weather dependent, but we'll do some other, like some games and things like that. And it's, we'll see. I might even bring some board games out. We'll see if we can kind of, do the shift from disc golf into board games. And
There you go.
so again, it's my event, so I get to bring the things that I like to do. And I know at Wally's tournaments, crokinole is the big thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So I know
Daryl had
Curtis
a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. Even if you're bad at it, it's like disc golf. Even if you're bad, it's still fun.
Yeah.
But I know Curtis wants to have a rematch because I played beyond lights out at Wally's 100th tournament, and he couldn't believe the shots I was making. Neither could I. But I was like, it's kind of like when you're playing pool or darts, and you're like, 2 to 3 beers in, and just you're in the flow. You can do no wrong. That was me against Curtis, and he'll attest to that. So he'll want a rematch on that. So I'll gladly let him whoop me. He's pretty good crokinole player. But
well,
we'll bring some other board games and things too, and we'll see if anybody's into it, and if not, we'll have some disc golf related games too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just
Sounds
one
like
of those things that like lots of us, we all love disc golf, but we also like other things, and I think that's kind of tying in with kind of the overarching thing that I'll get into probably at the end of the podcast when it's kind of Matt's moment or whatever we're going to call it at the end.
Yeah.
But, we all went a little disc golf crazy kind of COVID and right after COVID, and we're seeing just a kind of an overarching thing of there's a huge amount of events now, and you could, in Alberta alone, you could go and you could find a tournament to play every weekend if you're willing to travel. Like literally every weekend, both days, you could go find events to play. And it's not necessarily too much, but it's a lot. And some of us that were, kind of the disc golf bums of, okay, 3 weekends per month, I can get away for both days on the weekend and do the whole camping thing or hotel and travel and all the rest of that. And I think a few of us burned ourselves out a little bit on not just the competition side, but also the traveling side and the budget side of it. It's not cheap to go travel around the province and do these events. And, you're typically, eating out and, you're camping, you're staying in a hotel, and those costs do add up significantly. So I think next year and beyond, we're going to see a bit of a shift, especially in Alberta, because that's more like the events I'm familiar with. I think we'll see a shift in some events. Not necessarily less events, but different types, some lower buy-ins, probably more one-day events and things like that.
And not only that, speaking from experience, we're all showing the gray and things like that. We're all in that MA40 division. It takes a toll on your body as well, playing so much disc golf.
Oh, exactly.
None of us are getting any younger.
Yeah. Well, because the typical event in Alberta is, okay, you show up Friday, you do a practice round, if not 2. You do, a doubles or whatnot. And then Saturday, you're playing 2 tournament rounds.
Yeah.
Then, okay, you're camping or staying over, and you're doing at least 1 round on Sunday. So you're doing, 4 rounds in 2.5 days, basically. Then plus travel time and that. And it does take a toll on the body, especially on like the harder courses, whether it's, a long ball golf style course or it's like an up and down, like high elevation wooded course. So it does take a toll on the body. Absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure. So anybody who has still some energy left at this tournament, they're going to be around for Sunday for their final round. You guys are going to do some prizes and awards, and I think, do you have an ace pot going on for this tournament too?
Yeah, we do have $5 ace pot, and most likely it'll probably end up doing the CTP. So we'll do like a top 3 get paid, so 50%, 30%, 20% if there's no aces in a tournament round. There's only a handful of holes that are aceable at Drayton Valley. So it kind of gives everybody a shot. You get your 2 discs, assuming nobody aces, you get 2 shots at just the CTP to get a prize. So well worth being in there. Because as I learned from experience, if you don't buy into the ace pot and you get an ace, Your friends will razz you forever.
That wasn't the one I got to witness at Fort McMurray, was it?
It sure was. Yeah, yeah, that was the one. So
There
in
you
my
go.
defense, I hadn't had an ace in like 3 years. I had one early on in my disc golf career and hadn't had one in 3 years. And going up to Fort Mac for the first time, say, okay, it's a thickly wooded course and a fairly long wooded course, and it's the ball golf course. Like, what are the chances I'm going to get an ace? Like, okay, and just didn't think of anything of checking the box for the $5. And sure enough, on the tournament round, I think it was one of the last holes they played on the Sunday, just blind around the corner in one of the shorter holes, and just jarred it right in there with the glow Lozadal. And
Yeah.
as I'm driving up in the golf cart, going, yeah, ace, and I had the thing go, like the camera going for recording, and turned it off, and then, well, I didn't buy into the ace pot. Oh well, it's still an ace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's still an ace. Yeah. I'm.
There were two other aces that weekend. I'm trying to think who had the other two. I think Willie had one, and somebody else had one. So the ace pot, my share would have been like $50 or something. But still,
Yeah.
you can't live that down if you don't buy into the ace pot and you get an ace. So don't
you're
be
making
mad. Check the box, pay the few bucks. It's worth it.
See, now you're making me scared because I'm one of those people that probably the same as you. Maybe you just forgot to check the box, but I'm of the opinion that I'm not running aces in tournaments. Like, you miss an ace, you're 50 feet past the basket and you're going to leave yourself a tough par, right? So I'm laying up under the basket. I'm not running aces. And I know for the most part, aces aren't planned, right? They're a skip shot. They're the wind catches it, whatever it might be. They're luck of the draw. How many times you throw, how many times do they actually go in? So I'm a firm believer in, I'm not going to pay into an ace pot because I'm never going to win. But now you're kind of changing my mind.
Oh,
There you go.
You never know what's going to happen, and it
true.
depends on the course a little bit too. Like if I were playing, say for whatever reason, Hermitage from the Blues in a tournament, it's there's very few aceful holes, and people in my division can throw further than I can, have a better chance at ace. So I might not get in that one, but
Yeah.
any course that has a bunch of short holes, even if they're wooded under 300 feet, I'm paying the ace pot every time now. You never know what will happen.
Yeah, I don't think I would mind not winning the ace pot. I just don't know if I could live with everybody razzing me about that I didn't pay in.
Yep, exactly.
That's the only
But
thing.
hey,
Yeah.
I'll pass the curse. So yeah, don't buy into the ace pot, Daryl, and then get an ace, and then you can be that guy. You can wear that hat until somebody else takes the curse.
Oh, there you go. We got the ace hug going around. I'd rather
Well,
get that
yeah.
one than this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So no, that's all right. And the other thing too that I noticed as well when I checked there, just to kind of wrap that up there, Matt, is that there will be camping on site. So anybody who's going out there can really get a good, nice community feel at this event and be part and be right in the heart of it all. And because, as you said, the registration doesn't close until midnight the night this is airing. So anybody who's listening and watching right now, make sure you get on there and register. Let's get this a tournament over 50 people in it. Hopefully get it right up to 72 if we can.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I know tournament registrations have been down a little bit this year, and it's a little late in the season, but still, it's a great course. Curtis has done an excellent job. Like, this course has gotten way better in the past 2-3 years since they first went to it. Just that he was able to kind of wrangle kind of the county or the board of the Nordic Ski Club to be able to mulch a few extra spots just to take existing cross-country ski trails, which are fairly wide at this place, to make pretty big, still wooded golf, but quite wide fairways. But being able to mulch a couple extra key spots and change some holes really made probably about, I'd say 10 of the 18 holes just from kind of unmemorable holes to, okay, now I have to shape some shots where it's not just a big turnover. It's a bit of a flex shot, or we've got some proper wooded holes where he's got one where I call Plinko 2.0. Where at my place I've got Plinko, and he's got one. I'm trying to think what hole number it is. It's at kind of the turnaround point near with one of the shacks there, and there's two kind of distinct lines, and there's just a batch of Plinko trees in the middle. So there's a couple proper lines, but you still have to hit the line.
Nice.
But yeah, super fun. Just a good mix of shots, and he's done just an excellent job. He's going to provide some pretty cool T-shirts with a neat Wildman logo that he came up with, and I saw it and like, yep, that's perfect. You need no changes. It looks great. So we'll get kind of a neat event T-shirt, which always great because it's I'm rocking the River City Cup 2025 or 25th anniversary.
Nice.
So it's nice having shirts like that just to show off because it's something you'll wear Whereas if you get a disc that's branded, it's like, oh, you might never even get around to throwing that disc, but you can always just, wear a shirt and people are like, oh, you were at that event? Oh, this and that. Like I wear my Falcons flight shirts all the time. I've got,
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
2. Yeah. So stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it's just, just a good thing to have, just something that people will use. That's been a big philosophy for me and stuff in prize packs. Just trying to find something that is like a Christmas gift, trying to find something for somebody that they wouldn't buy for themselves, but once they have it, they go, why didn't I buy that thing? Like, I need that.
Yeah.
It's like my very first tournament, it was when the disc doctors first came out.
Right.
And I looked at that thing and said, okay, there's not going to be a lot of people buying these on their own, but once you have this thing, you're going to use it a bunch. And I
Yes.
think I found another thing this year that will be in all the amateur prize packs that it fits that bill perfectly, of something that you probably don't really have, but you will really be glad that you have it.
Right.
So
Is that a teaser then?
it is a bit of a teaser, yes. So
We don't
All
get
right,
the
we'll leave it at
exclusives.
that.
We'll get the
we'll say, especially if you ever end up playing thickly wooded or fresh courses.
Yeah. I played with you at
okay.
Wally's, and I know exactly where we're going, but I'll keep it under
Yeah,
wraps.
exactly.
with you. Yeah.
But no,
Well,
it's the type of thing. Once you have it, it's like, why didn't I buy one of these forever ago? It's like, well, now you don't have to because you have one.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, like we talked about the Cold Garden Cup tour that's happening this year at the beginning of the show. But the other thing that I was looking at when I was looking at the Wildman event, it's actually the last tournament as part of the Northwoods tour. And that was a tour that was maybe a little bit bigger last year. Wally was involved with that one, but it's good to see that it's still going on. And I'm sure there's some people who might not even know that they're on a leaderboard in the Northwoods tour. Is that correct too?
Yep, that is correct. Yeah, so Northwoods Tour was started by Wally to kind of band together kind of the northern Alberta events to kind of encourage participation between all the events. So so this year, I'll just go through the list. So we had Hidden Gem at Athabasca, the Fight for Fox Hill at Doubles at Fort Mac, Swan City Showdown in Grand Prairie, Wicked Woods in Hinton, the Lakeland Open in Kitscotty, and the Wildman Fall Classic in Drayton Valley. So we had 6 different tour stops this year, and definitely pulled back a bit, just kind of, but gave people a reason to kind of, not so much about the leaderboard points, but just a reason to kind of band together, be like, hey, like we're going to support each other, and that's just one of the great things of disc golf. That's, you've got your, each club in each of these places does a great job cleaning up the course and making it, very tournament ready and like just a good time for anybody who shows up, and then vice versa. And then they come to an event in a different, different course run by a different club or different organization and kind of see what they've done. And, just a way to kind of encourage that community of, even though we're, 4 or 5 hour drive apart between, some of these places, that we're still getting together to play disc golf together and in a, semi-competitive sphere.
For sure. For sure. All right. So that's it. Get out to Wildman. That's what we got to say about that, right, Daryl?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Registration's still open. You've got time. Get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
it'll be a great time. Lots of fun stuff.
Oh, for sure. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes. And I'm excited, super excited to talk about this topic. And that is, and the way I worded it there, Matt, it's the potential for a new disc golf course in the Edmonton area. And it's called the Wildman North 18. Is that kind of what we're working on for a name right now?
That's the current name. Yeah. So we'll get straight to the point. So
yes,
the first 18 on the property. So the property itself is 69.5 acres. The first 30 acres in the front is kind of lowland hay. It kind of not super usable for stuff other than haying. And then there's 40 acres of just pretty wild up and down hills, old growth forest, just big meadow in the back. So there's this beautiful chunk of property that when I was looking for land back in 2020, and eventually stumbled across this pretty early on in the whole scheme of things, and said, oh, okay, it's the price is a little high, and it's 25 minutes from town, which is what I wanted. I wanted something. It had to be at least, I was looking ideally like 20 to 40 acres of wooded with elevation changes, and it had to be within half an hour of the edge of the city in any direction. So early on, I stumbled across the piece of property that I did end up buying and thought, oh, well, there's going to be lots of stuff like this just all over the place. And then continued to look, and looked at listings, went out to properties all over the place, and just nothing else would fit the bill. Just especially in going anywhere south or east or west of Edmonton. If you go south, it's all just big lots of very expensive farmland, like out towards Leduc
Mm,
and stuff. If you
yeah.
head southeast, it's mostly acreages and it's somewhat swampy. It's not quite the land type I wanted. East of town, kind of similar land type, but tended to be either a 2.5 acre little acreage or a full 160 acre quarter section of mostly farmland, or just either way too expensive or just not quite the right thing. Same thing if you go west of town, that anything nearest the highway going west of town is quite expensive.
Right.
And so started looking further north and kind of found this corridor that's in kind of the similar area to like Jurassic Forest, just kind of north of Gibbons there.
Right.
So you've got Jurassic Forest, you've got the Goose Hummock golf course, you've got all sorts of other kind of this weird vein that's not really river valley, but it's kind of just a neat forested patch that was never worth clearing for traditional farming, but it's kind of in that vein. And it was fortunate that had the means to be able to get it, and then put in good 3 years of work on it, along with friends and family, and be able to put in the first playable 18 holes on the property.
Yeah, so you've got this piece of property now that has 18 holes on it of playable disc golf. And I'm going to put that in quotes unquotes at the moment for that. How
Mhm.
many hours do you think you and your friends and family and everyone who's kind of supported Wildman in the effort to get this course going, how many hours do you think you guys have put into building that course?
Oh, I would hate to hazard a guess. It's I would say like just the actual building physical labor part, not even talking about the planning and other things. It's got to be a couple thousand hours, and
Wow.
I'm probably underestimating. It's again over 3 years, and it's fairly small group, accounting the few volunteer bees and stuff we've had, and just kind of time out there. But it is significant. It is a a passion project for sure. That
Yeah.
there's no money in it, but
Right.
it's fun, and it's like what it's I'd rather I've got the opportunity to do it. If I waited another 10 years where I was even more financially comfortable, it's I'm 42 now, so I started this project at basically 39. So okay, I've got some energy and time to do that. If I waited till I was 50, I probably wouldn't want to be out in the bush, pushing the brush hog around and riding the mower for a number of hours per week, and even stomping through the unkept forest with a bunch of deadfall and stuff and trying to plan new holes and new lines. It's at 50, I probably don't want to be doing that. So the plan is at 50-ish years old to have both courses on the property done, and then have the Wildman Outdoor Society or something similar kind of running the property. But
Right.
that's still a long ways out. But I look at again, Aspen Meadows keeps coming up, but Aspen Meadows has been around for about 15 or 16 years,
Hmm.
and they've
Right.
got just massive, great core volunteers, and that's where I want to be in about 10 years from now, so about 13 years in, and just kind of build this grassroots thing of people that want to come contribute and be part of something. Hey, come on out and help out and do the work and reap the rewards, so to speak. Where
Yeah.
it's so currently the course isn't open to the general public. It's basically invite from the landowner, which is obviously myself. So that's kind of where we're at currently.
Well, and if I
But
can say
we're
to that, Matt, as before we get going, is that both
yep.
Daryl and I have had that opportunity in the past where you were able to invite us out and we had a chance to play the course. And this is an amazing course, and you can see the amount of care and attention that you and the team have put into this. It's like you said, it's a type of property where there's a lot of hills and a lot of forest and that things that wouldn't normally be considered farmland, maybe that small section, but that's even marshy at the front. But it looks like
Mhm.
it's the perfect piece of property to have a disc golf course on, and you've used it quite well and still have more room to grow. But I thought maybe what we could do is get a little bit into the fact of why it's private, because I know a lot of people will look on UDisc and see that that course is listed, and then they want to play it. But we've got to make sure they're clear that don't make that drive out there, because you can't
Mhm.
just walk on and play this course. So why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that is correct. That a lot of people get into disc golf, and it's, just like myself, again, when I first got into it and before I had the land and stuff, it's, you'd hop on, you just be like, oh, there's this course. Oh yeah, we're just going to drive out and go play that. Like, well, you still have to read the description, and if it says, private contact owner and things like that, like, you can't just show up. Like, there's courses all over the place that could be private land, could be, somebody's put one up in their yard, and there's labels on UDisc and things like that where if it's public, if you can just walk on, or if you need to contact somebody, if there's some other way to go there. So it's not currently open to the general public. It's more just invite for friends and family. We are working towards making it more accessible to the public, but that's a longer term battle, we'll call it.
Right. Well, can you tell us a little bit about what the outlook looks like to get to that point, and what kind of needs to happen for us to get to a place where it can be more of an open course, whether it's a private pay to play course as opposed to an invite only, where we can get to a point where we're doing events at that course and Wildman is actually held at Wildman? Is that something that we hope to see in the future?
Oh, 100%. And just give me a second here. So there are some hurdles,
Okay.
and part of it is there's with the county I'm in, which is Sturgeon County. They have their land use bylaw policy, which is your land is zoned this, it should be used for these things, and
Right.
their process is basically that if no one complains about things, you're allowed to do whatever within reason. If it's not bothering anybody, then no problem. But if they get any sort of complaint, whether it's valid or not, or it's a big deal or a nothing deal, like nothing burger, then they go, oh, well, you're not allowed to do that. And what I've run into more recently is they don't have quite the right tools to do what we want. So
Right.
again, you look at other private courses around, and like basically none are going to be zoned recreation or something other than the default zoning, which in Alberta is basically agriculture, or something that's called like agriculture residential or agri-res or something along those lines, depending on the county. So it's basically like, so I wanted to have the event obviously at Wildman again this year. Applied for, they have what's called a special event permit, which, if to roll back time a bit, so if you remember, anybody in Alberta, Edmonton area remembers the Boonstock about 12 years ago. So for those that don't know, it was a big concert that like outdoor, like a Woodstock type thing that happened. It was just in basically some farmer's field in Sturgeon County, and it got pretty out of hand. They were getting something like, I think it was 10 or 11,000 people per day out on this property. Like, it was an insane amount of people. And so they had some issues with, just things happen with that many people, and especially a concert type venue. So long story short, they pounded through this legislation saying, okay, if any event over 500 people has to have all these things. And it was a big long list of, first aid tent and security and dust suppression on the roads and sound mitigation and, visual mitigation, and just all this huge long list of things, again, for events of over 500 people. So during my rezoning process, that the land use bylaw office gave me essentially kind of not a carte blanche, but gave me the special event permit, saying, okay, yeah, you're allowed to basically operate this year until we kind of get the things sorted when you do a proper rezoning. So they gave me kind of a year to kind of figure things out, if it was worthwhile to rezone, if it was worthwhile to try and do it as a business or whatnot. So that's how we were able to have the Wildman Fall Classic number 2 out there in 2022. And so this year I said, okay, well, we're skipping ahead a bit, but I'll backtrack. So this year went to apply for this license again, and well within the time frame of have to be at least 90 days before the event, which I did. It took them 5 weeks to get back to me. Eventually talked to one of the head honchos in the county, and he basically said, well, you can't have this event license because it's only for events of over 500 people, and you're expecting about 70 or 80 people at most. We can't give you this license. So I said, okay, so I'm just allowed to have my event? He said, well, no, because then it falls under the land use bylaw policy, and that's because you're agriculture, you're not allowed to have this thing. So I said, okay, so what's your event permitting like for events of under 500 people? Well, we don't really have one.
Oh,
What do you mean
Right.
you don't have one? Like, well, so his solution was that I should present to council to kind of help shape the land use bylaw policy in the county to be able to have, smaller size events. So long story short, I didn't really get into all of this to shape the land use bylaw policy of Sturgeon County, but
just opening up a disc golf course here, right?
I want to have some buddies. We just want to fling some frisbees in the forest.
Yeah.
It's to me, it's no different than walking trails, but it's walking, you're hiking with a purpose. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this weird dead zone of you know talking to the land use bylaw office and other people at the county. Basically, they open up their binder and they go, okay, well, it's not really a golf course, but it's not really like a nature preserve. So they don't have a nice cookie cutter, clean
Right.
section in their bylaws and in their tool belt to be able to figure out how to make it work. So it kind of does fall on me to kind of recreate the wheel and create or help guide them in the process of, we want to have these things, like how do we get there? So
Yeah.
again, I didn't get into this to shape the land use bylaw policy of the county, but it might be something
part
that
of
has
what
to
you got to
happen.
do.
Might
Yeah.
be part of what I have to do. And again, I'm all in on at this point, so we're just gonna keep going down that road wherever it takes us, as hard as it takes, and the time and effort, and whether it involves a rezoning or not. But so we'll rewind a bit. So we'll talk about the rezoning. So I did a rezoning bid in 2023, and it's a very long, arduous, black box type of thing. Where just you send in these documents and kind of there's not really a lot of discussion back and forth, at least not my understanding of the way things went. But again, I'm not a land developer. I'm just a guy who likes disc golf, that has property, that wants to bring other people out to have fun throwing frisbees in the forest. So I went into it just, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and oh yeah, this will be no problem, this and that. And the bylaw office they were helpful, but also they didn't seem like there'd be any sort of backlash or any sort of major hurdles. And then we kind of slammed into a wall of just a bunch of people showed up saying they didn't really understand what it was, but they weren't well informed about what it was. And it's I did some open houses and things, but most of them did not attend to figure out what it was. They were kind of relying on the county to relay information to them, which they kind of didn't do. So there's a lot of just misinformation. There's a lot of just flat out wrong information that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
I still think even by the time we got to the council actually voting on what we're doing, I think there's still misunderstandings of what disc golf is, what I wanted to do with the property, what kind of impact it would have on neighbors, what kind of positive impact it would have on the local community. And so long story short, we ended up losing that rezoning vote to 4-3. It was tight. So initially we started for recreation zoning, which was kind of the catch-all for if you want to have a campground, or you want to have a shooting range, or a paintball range, or a driving range for ball golf. It's all kind of just recreation is kind of the blanket catch-all. And some of the neighbors and some other people had some issues with, well, if Matt gets this recreation zoning, then he could decide just, oh, I'm going to open this big campground. And if you get the right permitting and the right, check the boxes and do the stuff, you can just have a full-on campground in that whole area. Or you could just open a shooting range with basically no more input from the public. Right. So I said, yep, that's totally fair. So I worked with the land use bylaw office to say, okay, well, if we're not going to do it rec, what other options are there? So they kind of drew up on the fly, kind of mid-process in this rezoning, a direct control district, which instead of just a cookie cutter, recreation zoning or commercial or industrial, it's okay, we'll create a custom zoning for your parcel of land and kind of give it certain permissions and certain permitted uses and other uses you have to apply or get some more input from the land use bylaw office on. And again, making it on the fly wasn't a great solution, and I probably should have fought a little better against it. But that's with the hindsight of knowing how things worked in the county and how the vote went and all that. So we tried this direct control district, which basically would have allowed for disc golf facility and and other things on the property, but didn't list specifically things like shooting range and campground. But
Mm-hmm.
even things like in this description, there was uh, basically run as a private camp or club, but in the land use bylaw document, there's no definition. There's a definition for land for run by a private camp or club, but
Mm-hmm.
there's no other districts that used that definition. So there's no way to tell, like, what did that mean? What does that entail? What are some other examples? It was just kind of this weird abstract thing that I think some people still misunderstood as a disc golf course being run by a private club or camp, for whatever reason they're bundled in together in this
Mm-hmm.
document, was different than a campground of people coming with trailers and motorhomes and stuff and coming and going. But I still
Right.
think there's big confusion on that, and I think that's what really tripped us up in this rezoning,
Yeah.
was that misunderstanding there.
Well, and I
But
think
yeah.
too, Matt, as you're talking about it there, what you've really done is you've given us a good snapshot of how difficult it can actually be in some cases to open up. You think you're doing just a private little disc golf club here, everything should be okay, but there are a lot of I's to dot, T's to cross. And you would think with Sturgeon County, because I'm out in St. Albert is where I am, so I'm right beside Sturgeon County. As you said, is they have Jurassic Park, so that's a kind of a different type of park environment. You've got the different golf courses there. Obviously, I could see why people were a little maybe shy after the Boonstock events, but that was over 11 years ago from the last one there, and it seems like they should be prepared for it. So I'm really hoping that whether there's people in Sturgeon County listening to us, or if maybe we get lucky and maybe the councilors or the mayor hear this podcast, that hopefully they can see that our group is just like any other recreational group trying to participate in our sport, grow our sport. We're probably the calmest people you're ever going to see. The loudest thing you get is the sound of a disc hitting the chains in a basket and maybe a big cheer if it's an ace. We're a pretty low key group. So I'm hoping that Sturgeon County is going to come around, and whether it's that direct control situation, or they can come up with something else, there's got to be a way for us to get Wildman as a course that everybody can get out and enjoy, and bring the kids back out to the course and allow them to enjoy this sport in the wilderness, see the moose, like you said, and maybe even
Yep.
a dead squirrel if they're lucky too, right?
Oh, and that's the thing.
That's
It's
the
like,
dream.
yeah, and that comes back around to the, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. Where if I just wanted to have just me and my buddies come out, that's one thing. Okay, that's kind of no problem. That's where we're at now. But I don't want it to just be me and my buddies. I'm going to build this awesome thing. I want to have the school bus from Legal come out and have all the kids come out and enjoy their time here. I want to have some access to the public. I want to have some events here and there, and it's even a big event in Alberta, like, other than a handful of A tiers, like a big event is 72 players. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
not a huge amount of people. It's not a small chunk of land. It's like, I've had my counselor came out and she walked a part of the course, and talked to her and stuff about that. And she's like, oh yeah, it's a good use of the land. This land sat vacant for quite a long time, and it's obviously was never cleared for farmland and stuff. So she seemed to be on board with it, and then kind of flip flop near the end. So I'm not quite sure exactly why, but we've had some conversations, and we'll continue to have some more conversations kind of as time goes on, and kind of help educate people about the sport and the good it can do, and all
Yeah.
the rest of
Well,
that.
and not only the good it can do that way, but another thing that might be interesting is if we picked a few people like our buddy Mark Thompson, for example, who's going to be heading down to Wildman and Drayton Valley. If you had somebody like him, maybe keep his receipts from the weekend of him visiting this tournament and camping out there and going into town and buying some groceries and gassing up and having, the different things that he's doing, you get an idea that not only are we bringing our enthusiasm and we're participating in a sport, getting to connect with nature and doing all of these things by being at a golf course, we're also bringing money to the community. Even in that one time that I was out there at Wildman, I was back at the gas station and I was filling up and I was buying pop and chips and snacks and things like that. So that's money that's going into the community. That's because I went out to the course, and I wouldn't have put that money in the community otherwise, because there wouldn't have had a reason to be there.
Yeah, oh, exactly. Like, Bondcourt's the nearest town there, and they've got Chelsea's Pub, which is a nice little kind of pub restaurant. They've got pretty decent beer, all the rest of that, and you bring some people out, and it's a little bit tougher being not in a small town. Like if you're in Hinton or Drayton Valley or whatnot, it's easier to kind of plug in with the local businesses. When you're just a private landowner outside of town, it's not quite the same. It's
Right.
also different because I'm, literally the new kid on the block, even though I've been there for, 3 years and change now. It's in the big scheme of things in a rural area, that's still the new kid on the block. They don't know me. I don't have a family history of kind of being in the area and that, and they don't know me from, from Tom or Jack or whoever else. So, maybe to them it did feel like I was coming in here. It's like, oh, I'm going to build this big, this big event thing. And it's another part of in Sturgeon County that there's been not really a rash, but there's been some people that have been buying rural properties that have, big barns and stuff and converting them into wedding venues. So then you've got issues of, okay, if you're, you make this wedding venue thing, okay, well, weddings tend to happen in the summer. They tend to be overnights, tend to be, people playing music and drinking late into the evening, every weekend. It's, very different from a disc golf tournament that happens, once or twice a year with, even less people at it.
Right.
So we kind of got lumped in with that as well, unfortunately.
Well, what I'd
So
say
it comes down to education and just catching the ear of the right person to get them to come out and get them to see what disc golf is and get them to see what the community is like.
Yeah. And I would say, Matt, is that if there's anybody listening who is in Sturgeon County specifically who supports this initiative, and I'm sure other disc golfers as well, they could probably go to the Sturgeon County website and maybe send an email and just, I think what we need to do, as we always are as disc golfers, is be as positive as possible. Like just talk about how disc golf impacts you and why you think we should have another course in the area, because the more courses, the more people start playing, and the more people start playing, they're getting in touch with nature, they're getting exercise. There's only good that can happen from it. So I think that's kind of where I wanted to go there. But I did want to say, Matt, is that you might sometimes feel in the situation out there on the property trying to get this all done, that you're kind of almost feel like you're on a desert island of sorts, is probably what it feels like once in a while. And I don't know, Daryl, can I turn it over to you?
Oh, sorry. There we go. Yeah, you're a master of segues, Jeremy.
Now it's time for Desert Island Discs. Picture this. You've taken a relaxing cruise, however the ship goes down. You manage to swim to an island, and fortunately for you, there's an 18-hole disc golf course. Which 3 discs are you taking with you on the island?
There you go, Matt. You've probably seen the show before.
I have, yes, absolutely.
The end of the interview here. 3 discs that you can take with you. Which 3 discs are you taking with you? Probably, I'm guessing it's probably not going to be the hammer.
Not the hammer.
Or the wheel.
The
sorry.
wheel?
The wheel.
Not
The
the
wheel.
wheel.
It's probably not going to be the wheel.
I'm hoping it's an island with some elevation and a bunch of trees, so you're probably not the wheel. But I'd say definitely I'd need a Discraft Meteor. That is my kind of jack of all trades, and if I'm doing a 1 disc round, it's frequently just the Meteor, where I can make it a roller if I have to. I can do it forehand, backhand. In the tailwind, it does pretty good on distance. That's my get out of jail card. I call it the magic shot. So when I do just a backhand hyzer and end up in the trees or in the rough on the left side of the fairway, and I really need to reach out to the right and kind of make that corner and keep it going left, I just take this understable Meteor and put it on a little bit of anhyzer, good little flick, and it kind of holds that line and then has a little bit of fade, so it does kind of fall flat at the end of its flight.
Okay.
So the jack of all trades. In a pinch, I could putt with it. So that's definitely on the list.
Doubling up on disc. I like it. Okay, so Meteor.
Yeah, 100%. I putt equally bad with almost everything, so I don't need a putter. So we'll do another bid. So we got to have the Axiom Glow Hexalotl hex. Yeah, it's just a nice, can give it a good rip. Again, forehand or backhand, I throw both, and it does great with both shots. It's a nice dependable fade on the end. I've had the most aces with that disc, so that helps. I'm going to be ace riding everything on this island. Got to avoid the boredom somehow.
Exactly.
I don't think there'll be any PDGA sanctioned tournaments. So I don't have to worry about score. We'll just count aces.
There's no ace spots.
Find a big rock somewhere and just start. Okay, ace 1, and then a week later, okay, ace number 2. and then they'll find me like, oh, he was there this many days. Like
Oh,
No.
those-
didn't he get lost like 50 years ago? Why is there only like 8 notches on this rock?
Yeah,
I wasn't counting the days or the years. That was just number of aces.
that's awesome. I love it. And then,
And
the final
yeah.
disc.
the final disc.
I'm not too familiar with the Meteor, and I know the Hexalotl is obviously a
Yeah, staple of
5
Jeremy's,
speed
yeah.
mid range.
Yeah.
But what's the Meteor? I think that's
Meteors, yeah, like
kind of in that
understable
same.
mid, yeah, like
Okay.
5.4 minus 3.1.
Right.
So it's
Okay.
pretty
Okay.
flippy.
So we've
It's
got an
the type of disc
understable.
where, yeah, understable and a slightly stable,
Yeah.
mid. But yeah, the Meteor is great because I could throw it on a good bit of hyzer
Yeah,
and it'll
that's
flip
your
up and just
utility
basically
disc.
go flat. Yeah, totally utility disc. Hexalotl for kind of the bulk of kind of mid range and putting.
Yeah.
And so I probably need a driver of some sort, which for me is typically a Star Wraith is probably
Oh.
what I'd end up with. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Again, another forehand or backhand disc. It's handles the power of the forehand pretty well until they get a little bit too beat up. So might have to make it a halo start so it lasts a little bit longer on this island.
Gotcha. Yeah, because
They-
if you're
they
there
do have
for
to hit
8
trees
aces,
and
you know
get
how long
flippy,
that
yeah.
is.
Yeah, exactly. It's be all gray at that point. Gray and ball.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
awesome.
Those are
those would
some
be my 3. Yeah, I could make do with those 3 pretty easy.
Yeah. Meteor, putt approach,
Yep.
Hexalotl,
Yep. Hex.
glow
Putt
Hexalotl,
approach. Yeah, glow Hexalotl. Yeah.
and
I mean, if there's nothing else to do, you'll probably have to play at night. So, do I get to carry
Exactly.
a little UV flashlight for the evenings? Hopefully, I
Yeah,
brought
we'll
that
let-
with me on my boat.
yeah.
That's your bonus item.
Yeah.
Bonus item. There you go.
And
Nice.
Star Wraith or Halo Star Wraith. Interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
No, that's awesome.
No brand
Well,
loyalty either.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You're able
Yeah,
to spread
one from
spread the
everyone.
love across the different manufacturers.
Yep,
hey?
exactly. I am not partial to any particular brand. Like there's some brands I like, certain discs, like the Discraft mids I like. Like Buzz is a great disc too, but the Hex coupled with the Meteor I think would be a better mix than a Buzz and a Meteor. But yeah,
Nice.
not partial to any particular brand. I'll throw just about anything, or at least try just about everything.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, Matt, you've given us so much great information about everything that Wildman's doing, and we appreciate it. And I hope everybody else has a better idea. You're just not a guy selling discs on a Thursday. There's so much more to what's going on and what's happening with everything that you're part of. But we do want to
Mhm.
give you a chance here at the end. Is there anything that maybe we didn't cover or something else that you might want to mention?
Yeah, so kind of back to the property. So we've basically got, 18-ish playable holes. We actually have a few more that would require some mowing that we can kind of bring back into circulation. But so of the 40-ish acres of the wooded area and a small back meadow, we've probably for the current course have used 16, maybe 17 acres of that. And so it's quite wild up and down hills, so a lot of kind of manual labor type stuff. And the south part of that wooded area is significantly larger, but I'm going to go for a little bit more of a Drayton Valley kind of style. Probably not the same width of fairways, but at least have wider fairways, longer holes. So it will play quite a bit different from the current 18 hole on the property. Yeah,
I'm excited
me-
for that.
Oh, absolutely. It's been planned on paper, but there still needs to be more walking and a whole bunch more work. But there'll be some mulching at some point. But no,
Oh.
that is 100% will be in the works. So
Awesome.
just more things to be excited about. And it makes no sense to have two of kind of the same course on a property.
Yeah.
And again, back to Aspen Meadows, where it's the west was the original, where it's tend to be a little bit shorter holes, like some easier, shorter wooded holes. Then some not really bomber, but like some good open holes. Then you get to the east, and it's like there's some proper wooded bombers. There's some very technical shots, and they play quite a bit different from each other. One harder than the other, which not necessarily you have to make one harder. Just they should play different, in my opinion.
Yeah,
If someone
no,
wants
that
to
makes sense.
drive out and come play, that you got to give them two good options. And on the current course, the plan is to have red level tee pads for the newer players, younger players, white level tee pads for kind of the intermediates, and then blue level pads for kind of the professionals and the upper tier amateur players. Then on the next course, we'll probably just end up with white and blue tee pads, but we can always just stake out a spot for the red tee pads. I also want to do it the same way if you've ever been to the the Fort Mac wooded course, the newish one. It's about 2 years old in
Yes.
town.
Yeah.
So what they've done there is essentially every hole has a blue tee pad and a white tee pad in kind of different spots, and then the fairways typically kind of cross over, and then there's a white and a blue basket in different spots. So
All right.
essentially, each hole has blue tee pad to blue tee pad to white, and then white tee pad
The
to
blue.
blue and white tee pad to white. So it's kind of 4 holes in one. And there's a
Great.
couple
Oh,
holes
yeah.
where the white tee pad actually plays harder than the blue tee pad, just the way that things worked out, or depending
Okay.
on if you're a forehand or backhand dominant player. So that's
Great.
another thing I'm looking at doing for the next course is kind of, I've got enough acres where I could easily pound in, 21, 22, 24 holes, depending
Mm-hmm.
on how short they are. But I think it makes more sense to have a more future-proofed alternative baskets, alternative tee pads, which aren't necessarily harder or easier, but just it will play different from each other on each individual hole, and it's kind of future-proof it that way. I think it would be a great use of the land, great use of the time and effort to build the maximum in the smallest amount of space, and really
Yeah.
kind of use every chunk as best I can.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of land, but it takes about an acre per hole to make kind of a pretty good course. So with those 40 wooded acres plus the meadow in the back, like in theory, it's kind of 40 good holes. You start adding
Mhm.
a longer par five in there
Yeah.
here and there,
Exactly.
then
Yeah.
that eats up some acres even on a wooded course. So it just makes
Yeah.
more sense
Well,
to jam them in, but plan it very well before you start mulching a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Matt, I would say that let's hope that the county can get something figured out for you guys so that Wildman can be open. I would say to other people as well, you'll put out posts, follow you on Facebook, follow what you're putting out there. There's opportunities sometime for work bees. I've seen that come up. There's
Mm-hmm.
also probably, if there's ways that people can support you, you're going to put that out there and different ways to help move us towards that goal. But
Yep,
we're looking forward to
100%.
it. And the next time you got an invite for us, let us know. We'll be happy to come out and see what you're doing out there. But we appreciate you coming on tonight. And it was awesome talking with you. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, guys, for having me on.
Awesome. Not a
Okay.
problem. Thanks. Thanks, Matt.
See you later, buddy.
There you go. That was our interview with Matt, which we recorded yesterday because, as I said, Jeremy, for those of you who are joining late, Jeremy is not available today, so I'm flying solo. So that was me in the chat. And again, we want to thank Matt for coming on and giving us our interview. It's been a long time coming. Hope everyone enjoyed Matt's insight to some of the problems and issues and everything that he's had to deal with surrounding his disc golf course there. So, as Jeremy always likes to say, if you like what you hear, if you like what you've watched, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think you guys are all subscribed now. Tell a friend, share it, do whatever you have to do. Follow us on social media. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. Nah, not so much Twitter, but we're around everywhere. Now I'm going to put it out to the chat. Jeremy already had a secret word picked out, or a secret phrase, but if anyone else can come up with a secret word, put it in the chat. As those who like to know, or that do know, we like to put out a secret word just to show that you listened all the way to the end of the episode, and then then put it in the comments on the YouTube video, and then we know that you were watching. That's awesome, Kristen, that you didn't realize that it was recorded. So that's good. That means that what we're doing with this new program that we're using is good. Excuse me. So, our 250 subscriber competition, the giveaway, it's finally upon us. We hit 250 subscribers. We've done our giveaway. We did the draw, and we have a winner. I'm just looking to see where it is. So I'm going to put it on screen right now. This is the one. This is where it is. Congrats to Andre from Park Pro. He's the lucky 250 subscriber giveaway. He's going to get all those goodies that we put out on social media. It's a pinned post on Instagram. There's a training bag. There's a couple of discs. There's a Cold Garden Cup disc. There's a signed Gabby Lee disc. There's minis. There's stickers. Koozies. There's the limited edition chain out hat. All of that is going to Andre unless he tells us otherwise. Thanks everyone for watching. I don't think we've got any secret words in the chat. So we're going to say the secret word is... It's not going to be a word, it's going to be a phrase. Because if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. I think if you can put that into a sentence, or even if you just leave that in the chat, that'll work for this episode. We want to again thank everyone for watching. Thank you for being active in the chat. I had fun typing and chatting to everybody today. But you know what would happen if I had that meteor? Because it's so understable for me. If I was to throw it, and I wouldn't be able to get it to flex out. I wouldn't be able to get enough turn on it. I wouldn't be able to put it on enough hyzer. I wouldn't get an ace like I did at hole 13 at Hermitage. It would hit those chains. It would hit the side of the chains. And it would have chained out. Thanks everybody. Catch you on the next one. Jeremy will be back.